is Notsam Wrestling.
Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
So here on Notsam Wrestling, you might know him as Hornswoggle or Swoggle or Little Bastard or Dylan or Big Nick or Doo-Doo Dylan or it could be a lot of different things. Ladies and gentlemen, Swoggle's back. What's going on, Dylan?
I had a feeling we'd include the Doo-Doo Dylan. I had a feeling that was going to be included.
That's how you know if I've really read the book or not, right? Like, if there's no reference to Doo-Doo Dylan, you're like, you didn't even, it's on like page 3. You didn't even open the book.
That's that, or you're just a fan of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, which I know you aren't.
Well, yeah.
No, it's.
I learned about doo-doo hands, your doo-doo hands on the
and chocolate,
right? But
yeah.
Then Doo-Doo Dylan came in Kofi's foreword in the book.
How crazy is that, man? Like, I have the WWE champion.
That's a dude.
It's a forward in my book. Like, it's the coolest thing to me is them two. They're just my best friends, and I was asked, the publishing company came to me and the literary agency, ECW Press came to me and they said, who do you want to do the forwards? I said, Kofi and Hawkins. And they said, yeah, could you think anybody else? I said, no, I don't want anyone else. Those are my guys. Those are the guys I want to do it. And also I don't want to see them until it comes out. And they kept sending them to me to get approved. And I would just say, no, they're approved. It's done. It's done. Like, we're all good. And they go, well, we'd like you to read them over. I said, no, I don't want to. I want to see it when it comes out. I literally stuck by that.
It's so cool. I mean, both forwards are great because Hawkins, obviously, I've known, you guys as best friends for probably as long as I've known either of you guys. And, the forward is so nice and everything. He was also the guy that was not only one of, if not your best friend when you were in WWE, but he was the guy that was there for you when you left WWE. He was the guy that brought you on the indies and like immediately got you started and everything. And it's just, that story is so nice. But the Kofi forward to me really made me smile because as I'm reading it, I go, number one, this is perfect because you're getting such a look into the ball-busting world of real friends. And also, this is the WWE champion. But it's not like, hey, I got the WWE champion to write my forward. It's the guy who is like my buddy, who we busted balls for years, and he's got the stories to prove it. Oh, yeah, he happens to be the WWE champion now.
Man, it's kind of crazy. Like, the timing sure worked out pretty well for me, in some crazy way. But again, it's just, like you said, people know my friendship with Hawkins, and I think a lot of people know my friendship with Kofi too. But for them to, and that's like, I think it's very unlike them to do, to write something like this, to, something kind of serious but yet put their own spin on it as only they would do for, about me. I also loved that the forward. So I read the forward literally when I got the advanced copy in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a copy of it. I went off to the side and I read it. And I texted both of them. I said, pardon my language. I said, thanks, dicks. I'm smiling ear to ear, yet my eyes are welled up. But Kofi's forward literally kicks the book off so well.
Yeah.
In just a fun and it brings everything that I talk about in the book in his forward, and it was perfect. I am forever indebted to those two guys for those.
Yeah, so the book is called Life is Short, and so am I. My life inside, outside, and under the wrestling ring. And it's everywhere. I saw you posting photos of seeing it in Barnes & Noble, which had to be a trip. But, like, when I started reading it, I was like, okay, I figure I kind of skim it, get the general idea, talk to you, get some stories out of you, bada bing, bada boom, we're good. I didn't realize kind of the emotional roller coaster, both personally and professionally, that like as a reader you go on, you start, and again, I'm thinking, because I have to read books all the time to interview people, and I'm thinking like, okay, we'll kind of skim through the childhood stories and get to the wrestling stuff. But like from the beginning, like the childhood stuff is so like real and raw, especially the family stuff, that I go on that ride with you, and I'm like, holy shit, like we started like, oh, this is fun, we're talking about wrestling figures, and then it goes like, yeah, but this is what growing up Dylan was actually like.
And I didn't really think about that. Like, I didn't think about, we kind of started fun, and then we
I'm literally like, when you're talking about getting your first Hasbro figures, right? I'm sitting there going, I remember when I got my first Hasbro figures. And then you start going into like,
oh, then my mom sucks and my brother died.
yeah, I mean, dude, I'm going like, okay, so they got divorced, like that sucks. This will just be, oh my God, and the mom wasn't there, and oh my God, there was alcohol, and oh my God, his brother committed suicide when you're 9 years old, and I go, no wonder you're pursuing your childhood dreams. Your childhood got all messed up.
The whole time. And I never like thought like, hey, I can't do this. It was always no, I have to do this because this is all I want to do.
Yeah, and then you start getting into your dad, and I think part of it is because I'm a dad. Yeah. And when you start talking about like what a good dad you had, and like, and you start giving all these examples, I start welling up because I'm going like, oh my God, it's so important to have a good father. Look at, I mean, it made you, because you're a good person. I feel like it made you, your dad laid the foundation for you being who you are.
Yeah. Like, and that's the funny thing. My dad's just my dad, and I love him so much because, like, I've done 3 or 4 interviews now that I've said, man, I just want to meet your dad and like hang out with him. He's really cool.
Yeah.
And all my buddies back home, they're like when I run my shows here, they're like, is your dad going to be at this one? Or, hey, like, is your dad coming to this or this? Because they want to hang out with my dad.
Yeah.
And it's just because he's I talk about it, he's the most frugal person, but he makes it like a joke, too. Like, when we were kids, he collected Marlboro miles when they did the and like Camel Bucks,
right?
When they did those, but he never smoked. So he would have me and my 2 brothers jump. Literally, he'd see one on the street, and we'd get out of the car to pick it up, to collect them for like lug bag, duffel bags, and CD players, and we all had Discmans from Marlboro when we were like 12 years old.
And nobody in the family smoked anyway. Even the adult didn't smoke.
No one. No one. And but that was like, it just, my dad, I'm so happy that the book shed such an awesome light on him and how I feel about him.
Yeah.
That made me happy.
So, like, when you go into the stories about your mom and how, she really, there was a lot of emotional abuse, I would say. It read like emotional abuse to me in terms of, like, her using guilt as a weapon, her not being there for you when you needed her, forgetting you at school, putting you, down low on the list of priorities when she's dating, when she's drinking, when all this stuff is happening. As an adult now, that you've, experienced everything that you've experienced, you've got your own family. Do you find yourself kind of understanding that your mom was just your mom and not ready for all this? Or do you still take it like personally and gone, no, you should have been my mom. I needed a mom.
My dad remarried to Dorothy, my stepmom technically, but she's my mom.
Right.
I wish her a happy Mother's Day every Mother's Day. I write her, she's mom. I call her mom. My son calls her grandma or nana. And that's what she is to me, because she raised me. She truly, truly raised me. The book, I like talking about her and my brother. I was just talking to someone today. A buddy of mine came over, and I said, I think it was like closure, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like the final kind of, all right, I'm over it. And I truly am. Like I think I'd say it. It's really weird. I don't know if I would go to my mom's funeral if she passed away.
So she's just a person. Like she exists, she's a person, but you're just not connected to her anymore.
Yeah, I if I saw her at Target, I don't know. I know for sure I wouldn't say hello. I know for sure I wouldn't. She's literally a person.
But
In
yeah,
a
because
small
it's
town, in small town Oshkosh, that's pretty hard to do too.
yeah, yeah. Especially when there's not that many like super famous little people that are walking around Oshkosh. You're probably easy to find.
I'm very
But it's not like I'm not going to talk to her because I'm mad at her. It's just you're just done. It's just,
I'm over it.
Yeah,
Over it. Since it's been 25 years,
right.
and in all this time, I've grown as a person, not physically. Comedy.
Nailed it.
I've grown as a person and as a human, and I have a life, and she hasn't been wanted to be part of it and hasn't been part of it. So why have her part of it now?
Yeah, and like you said, you've got Dorothy in your life, so your kid's got a grandma on your side. You're good.
Yeah, she's awesome, and she picked me up from the airport today.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
pretty awesome to
already.
me.
Otherwise, you would have been sitting on the curb at the airport crying, hoping somebody noticed you, right?
Just I'm not being able to tie my shoes.
Yeah. poor little kid Hornswoggle. It's just
Uh,
and then the other emotional roller coaster that you take us on, right, is we get to I think that you do such a great job of going through your 10-year career in WWE, the highs and the lows, and you don't like make anybody out to be a bad guy. You just talk about your stories and you talk about how they made you feel. You talk about all the good things and the highs that you went on and the amazing stuff, every amazing angle that I'm sure we'll talk about in our conversation today and everything that people remember. But I mean, I really thought you did such a good job because it was so like heartbreaking to hear of the kind of slow process of you realizing this is done. It's a matter of time. Like going through your last WrestleMania, you're just not a priority anymore.
Yeah,
the one that you were not at. The last WrestleMania you were employed for.
That really hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, that really emotionally took. I think that was, to be honest, my final give up. To not be invited to WrestleMania, and then when I ask to go, to work Access, to do all this, to still not feel wanted. I think that was the final kind of, and it was never an FU to me by any means.
Right.
But that was you weren't even picked last in dodgeball. You weren't picked at all.
Right. We're like, no, we're done picking, and you're just standing there.
You're sitting there. You can ref if you want, but do it at home.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you had to like call and ask, hey, can I go to WrestleMania? You're already swallowing your pride to have to ask.
I felt like such a shithead doing that. I like just awful.
Yeah.
You're
like, hey, it's me, Dylan. I was Vince's son at one point. I was thinking, you guys are paying me. Maybe I could go to WrestleMania. Maybe. What do you think?
Literally the only thing I wanted to do was bring Landon so he could see a WrestleMania.
Right.
Like that was, and I was talking to Kofi and Hawkins yesterday, and I said, like, they both just finished the book, and we were talking about it, and I said, guys, I think I finally did a non-bitter wrestling book. Like,
I think that's exactly right, because that's what I was trying. Like, it doesn't come across as bitter at all. It's just like you just feel you're hurt. And
I'm a real dude. I'm a real.
Yes.
In all reality, what do I have to be bitter about? They gave I should have never made it.
Right.
I should have never made it. I somehow made it, and I made it for 2 weeks under 10 years. When they told me could be a 6-month run, crazy. And I have nothing to be bitter about. The drug test thing is the only thing that I was really kind of negative about, and it was because I was hurt. I was hurt by how it was handled.
Right.
And but I almost said they handled it the way they should have. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I, put in that position, I don't know if I would handle it a different way. I feel like how they handled it, how it was worded, I should say, was poor.
Yeah, I get that. But yeah, I mean, I think that you're also smart enough to understand that, like, at the end of the day, you are just a performer, a single person in this giant machine, and the machine has to keep moving, and sometimes you don't know why or how or where or when. It's kind of just like, okay, this is my time. And like you said, I think that the overall theme of the book, like, I only brought that up because it really struck me as, like, you're right. I mean, to bring it up, that it didn't come across as bitter. It came across as, like, I mean, even talking about, how it felt to be at home towards the end, like, just the feeling of not being used. I don't think that a lot of fans really get that. You don't feel like you're just, oh, cool, I'm at home and I'm still getting paid. That's cool. Like, it's not cool. It's like the worst thing in the world.
It gets at times it gets depressing, and it gets fans never see it as, it's Drew McIntyre should be used and be world champion and should be this, that, and the other thing. It's not, why is Heath Slater at home?
Right.
It's never this guy should be, Heath Slater should be used on television, or, hey, just on house shows, or it's never that. It's this guy. Damn it, he should be world champion.
Right.
No, I didn't want to be world champion. I just wanted to be a part of the team.
Right.
Like, literally, tag me in. Let me step up to bat again.
Yeah, I got stuff to give.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And I mean, I love all the stories throughout, and some of them we've talked about before, and some of them we haven't. Basically chronicling your whole career. I think that something that you bring to the table that I don't know if any other performer understands on the level that you've understand it. Because, like, I talked to Colin Jost and Michael Che this past WrestleMania, and they were talking about being under the ring because they did a spot in the WrestleMania Battle Royal. Yeah, they did a spot under the ring. And there was a camera under there and everything. So, like, I was like, guys, so was that, like, set up? Was it just a camera shot? And they were like, no. Oh, my God. It was so scary. We were under the ring because they were under the WrestleMania ring while the Battle Royal's happening. And they had gotten under the ring to kind of practice it beforehand, but there hadn't been a Battle Royal happening while they had been practicing. And they were like, oh, my God, when you're under that ring and you're trying to figure out, like, what's going on and what your cue might be, and there's a Battle Royal happening 6 inches above your head, and the wood's coming down and the match just slamming and slamming, and you're going, oh, my God. Like, and I think of you because you had so many, I mean, an entire career of you're the guy under the ring. And when you're a kid, by the way, like, when I'm a kid, I'm going, and when I say kid, I mean probably teenager, when you start to really, when you've really figured out wrestling, when you know everything there is to know.
You hit 12 years old and you know everything.
Right,
like my son at 9 with daily life.
yeah, exactly. You figured it out. Like, I knew at 12 that there was a tunnel in every arena. All arenas had tunnels that led from backstage to under the ring where the trap door is.
Yeah.
And that, clearly 2.5 minutes or so, give or take, before somebody comes out from under the ring, they just go in the tunnel and they get under the ring and they get in position. And we know how this works. What am I, a mark? I know how this works.
It's like the tunnels at Disney World.
Except every arena in the world has them.
Everyone. And like, people are just, like, hanging out under there playing cards and just,
Yeah. So how long did it take you to get used to life under the ring? Because those that don't understand what we're getting at here, like if you're gonna be revealed in the last segment of a show, odds are that before doors open, you're scurrying under the ring, you're posting up, and you're hanging until your spot. Whether it's in the first match or the last match, you have found your position for the evening.
Man, I think that I don't know when it was normal. I think it was pretty normal pretty quick because that's all I did. It's not like I came from the back and then 3 weeks in, they're like, hey, now you're going to go into the ring and just be under there.
Right.
Get used to it. No, it was my role from day one. Awesome. And I feel like I never got a chance to just sit back and go, hey, this is really cool.
Like even while you were under the ring, you weren't kind of just looking, going like, this is awesome.
I loved it. I loved it because I could hear on the headsets, I could hear the producing of the show. And it was so cool to get, because I would always have the monitor and always have the headset. So I could hear the producing of the show while watching the show. And it was so, the countdowns in and out of commercial breaks, replay cues. It was so awesome for me.
So you're learning how to produce a show under the ring.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was the coolest. The coolest. And God damn it, that camera sucked. Come on.
But I mean, it goes beyond oh, this isn't just some crazy old man yelling. You're like, oh, I get what he's doing. I understand what he's trying to accomplish here.
We always hear about the crazy mind and how Vince is just a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And him and Kevin Dunn both.
Uh-huh.
They are both such perfectionists in what they want for the show. It's insane, but it was so cool to listen to.
So that was really the part that you enjoyed about it.
Loved it. I didn't hate any part of being under the ring. It was so easy for me. They gave me for the TV at TV days. I had a pad under there. House shows, I would just bring just put my gear underneath and I would sleep. I could literally fall asleep on house shows. And pyro and the opening video would wake me up. Yeah, it was. I got pretty used to it pretty quick, and it was fun. Did you
ever miss any cues under there?
Maybe one because I was sleeping. Yeah, I talk about it in the book. There's one in I forget where we were, but it was a 6-man tag. It was Finley, Kali, and Big Daddy V against Batista, Kane, and Undertaker. And I may have not gotten a lot of sleep the night before on tour.
Sure.
That's what I'm blaming it on.
Just sleep deprivation.
Just sleep deprivation.
Sure.
And I fell asleep. I went out. I was under the ring before the show, and I fell asleep under the ring, and I wake up to Finley with the apron held up, going, "Let's go! Let's go! What are you doing?" The way he described it was, I lifted the curtain and saw you face down in the floor and thought you were dead. He goes, because I could see, after a while, I had this weird thing where I could hear the match and I could know exactly where people are in the match. For this whole loop of Benoit and MVP, I knew exactly what was going on above me in the match because of just the sound, and it's crazy. But then I knew my spot was coming up when in the 6-man, and Fit would hit the floor, and I would see the bottoms of his boots, and here we go. And he knew if I didn't come out right away, something was up. And so he knew something was up. And he goes, "I thought you were dead." And then I remember coming out going, "I'm so sorry, Fit. I'm so sorry, Fit." And then realizing I have to get in the ring with Undertaker.
Yeah.
And he throws me in the ring, and I'm audibly saying out loud, "I'm so sorry. I was sleeping. I'm so sorry."
I'm sleeping.
We get to the back, and Taker comes up to me and goes, "What happened?" I go, "I was sleeping." And he goes, what? I go, I was sleeping. And he just walks away. And everyone's laughing about it because, I mean, Kali, Big Daddy V, Taker, Batista, Kane, big guys.
Yeah, it's the loudest guys in the world.
Wrestling above me. And I was just passed out from sleep deprivation.
From sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
You see, like when you tell that story, I think of like times when I have to wake up suddenly, even if it's just like I fall asleep on the couch and my wife wakes me up and she's like, Sam, you got to go to bed. And like I wake up and I'm surprised and I'm like, huh? What? I can't imagine waking up suddenly and there's Fit Finlay saying, let's go. And you have to get in the ring with The Undertaker right now. And you're like, I don't even remember where I am. I don't know what day it is today.
I just knew I had to say I'm sorry. That's all that was going through my head at the time is, oh no. Yeah.
That's how you know you have good instincts. That like, I'm sorry is the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
So when you went through you went through a couple periods really, I think, but when there were moments that you were being used like crazy, like I'm thinking right around the time of Little People's Court when it was like we're gonna center this around Hornswoggle. Right, and it's gonna.
You mean that little run that I had with Sean and Hunter, just that little tiny push there.
DX thing that got you another action figure and a T-shirt and just that little thing.
Man,
but like how when you are being used on that level, right, and you're like multiple segments per show, one of the marquee acts, like and that's not to say that take anything away from Sean and Hunter, but. You are with them. Like you're becoming part of this marquee act. What is that like?
I remember just the coolest thing for me was being able to throw glow sticks and do DX Pyro. I didn't care what I did on the show.
You did not.
No, I didn't. That's not a lie at all. I didn't care. All I knew was I was throwing glow sticks and trying to hit people that weren't paying attention with them. And doing DX Pyro because I was X-Pac in that moment.
Right. And you talk about it. X-Pac is one of your idols.
I was so happy. I got to do house show tours and overseas tours and do DX Pyro every night. And it was the coolest thing ever. But that's like it took. And I went through such high highs and then lows and then high highs.
Yeah.
And it was like rapid. There was very little in between, a couple like when I was with Natty and Kali, a little in between there. But other than that, it was high and then nothing, high and then nothing. And it just, I think that's what at times can gets to a person because hey, 3 weeks ago, I was pinning Vince McMahon on Raw.
Right.
Something Stone Cold never did.
Right.
And then I'm doing nothing.
Yeah, it's almost like the only way to survive is to kind of, I guess you have to just kind of cool everything down. Like
not every act can be hot forever.
Right. But you have to sit there when you're at your hottest. Like not allowing yourself to get so into it. Oh, hang on. There it goes. Not allowing yourself to get so into it that you think that this is forever. Like just going like, enjoy this for what it is right now. Have a good time, but don't get attached to it, right?
Yeah, but that's so hard to do.
It's impossible.
It really is because
I can tell you to do that, but you couldn't, and you could tell me to do it if it were happening to me. But like we can't.
Hey, Sam, don't get used to being a really good radio host because, well, just don't get used to it, Sam.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is you can't when you're riding that high, you can't not get used to it.
Were you ever able to get to a place where you could go, okay, I can't blame myself on this. It's not my fault.
Yes.
You were.
After a while, I would, after pitching and pitching and pitching and pitching, and nothing coming of it, I finally, you finally just give up after a while. and you finally kind of just, all right, I must not be the guy right now.
Right.
That's why the WeeLC, the Torito push and that whole thing caught me so off guard to an extent, because I wasn't being used for a long time there.
Yeah.
At that point.
So when you did the WeeLC, and we've talked about it before, and you've talked about how that was, one of your favorite things you did in WWE, certainly your favorite match, because it was a real match, and it was you without, a whole bunch of people around you. It was just you getting to go out there and show the world what you can do, and you guys crushed it. It was the match that everybody was talking about coming off of that pay-per-view, and it was on the kickoff show. When that match was created, the WeeLC match with you and Torito, was it supposed to be the real match that it became? Because, or was that something that you guys were like, look, I know that they want this to kind of be a comedy thing, and we can keep it funny and make it a comedy thing, but we can also have a hell of a match and shock the world.
So this was during my God damn it, I just want to wrestle mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting the opportunity, and we have the first 2 weeks, Torito and I, and they're letting us just kill it and do whatever. And then the third match, I think it was, where it didn't go very well, and it was on SmackDown, and then Vince immediately kind of had the mindset of, God damn it, they don't want to see two midgets beating each other up.
Except Vince wouldn't have said midgets. He doesn't like that word.
Little guy.
Right.
Two little guys, which he actually said. I use the term midget because it makes me money, of course.
Right.
They don't want to see two little guys beat each other up.
Mm-hmm.
I go, okay. So then I knew for the WeeLC thing, we were screwed. We had to do comedy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone, all of us, all 7 of us had the mindset of, all right, we're given this really crazy opportunity. Let's kill it. Let's literally do everything we can that no one would expect. All right, hey, Drew, what do you want to do? I guess I'm just going to run out of the ring and do a flip over the top ropes through a table. Onto no one. Awesome. Jinder almost died taking that ladder bump. It's just like the craziness. Going into it, we all kind of had the mindset of, we're going to do, this is going to be crazy. And no one's going to expect this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of us could have thought it would get the reaction it did. And I still swear, and I say it all the time, I will never do anything better than that, ever in my life. It was just, everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was amazing. And that was you guys going like, look, just everybody going, this is an opportunity, because, at the time, it's not like Jinder and Drew and Heath, and I mean, you guys weren't getting, 3MB wasn't getting pay-per-view opportunities.
Yeah. And between, we all just kind of wanted to stand out that night.
Yeah.
And do whatever we could to do that. And man, it's the most talked about match I've ever done, and I think it always will be.
So in the book, you were talking about a story about your almost position as Raw general manager. And that would have been the end of Hornswoggle.
Big Nick from Jersey, man.
Big Nick from Jersey. And it would have been like, you would have come out and played this character, but that would have been the end of Hornswoggle, correct?
It would have been the coolest thing ever.
Uh-huh.
It would have... what it could have been for me could have been so awesome. We would have never had WeeLC,
right?
So, but man,
So what was the idea that there would be no acknowledgement of Hornswoggle, or how would?
Well, that it was the whole time I was an adult playing this character to take all the stinking money from your stupid kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I love it.
Because you're all buying my moich, as Kofi would say.
Moich. Well, yeah.
Which I believe is spelled Moich.
The only problem with Big Nick from Jersey was that... I
can't do a Jersey accent.
Yeah, and I can't for the life of me, I can't figure out why it has to be from Jersey. Why couldn't it have just been Big Nick kind of sounds exactly like Dylan. Like, I think you still, your accent is not so
I don't
placeable.
have a hillbilly country bumpkin accent or anything. Like, and they told me on Saturday and wanted it for Monday.
So on Saturday they call you and they're like, here's what we're thinking.
I was at my parents' house eating dinner.
Yeah.
And I get a call and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. You need to learn a Jersey accent. And I go, what? Like, so again, I make the mistake. I'm riding with Kofi and Hawkins, telling them when I get in, and they just, oh, this is going to be great because he's going to be the ultimate failure. These are my best friends.
Of course they are. So like, and like the thing about a Jersey accent is if you're not from the East Coast, to differentiate between a New York accent and a Jersey accent and a Brooklyn accent and like all the different East Coast.
All I watched was the Roger Rabbit movie for the baby in that.
That's it.
The Mafia movie. That's all I kept doing over and over and over.
And Kofi and Hawkins were there when you tried out the character that day, right?
Yeah, and they had me doing it over the mic, to the whole arena. And Kofi and Hawkins were sitting opposite Hardcam in the stands watching me, and then they finally it was so bad that they cut the mic. And Kofi and Hawkins were really mad that they did that and started booing
because they were enjoying it.
Yes, they were enjoying my failure.
This is how wild this world of wrestling is. When we talk about the highs and lows, that this thing, like, okay, go in the ring and do a Jersey accent. If you can pull it off, then starting today, you're going to be the general manager of Raw, and you're going to be on TV every week and be one of the biggest heels. If
you're going to be a heel manager that runs the show, and this whole time, there's no more Hornswoggle because you're an adult with a beard.
Right. But if you can't do a Jersey accent, never mind.
Exactly. Thinking about it now, I was an adult with a beard the whole time.
Of course you were. Hornswoggle had a beard.
In all reality. So why was it, God damn it, today you're an adult. If you can do this accent. If you can't, go back to being a dumb child.
Yeah. You're like, well, I thought I was a leprechaun, not a child.
I had to take speech lessons.
Did you take speech lessons?
Yeah, from a nun and from a teacher. 2 weeks in a row, Teddy Long tried to get me to talk, and they brought in an exorcist. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great. Was there ever any sort of like when they first pitched to you, we're going to bring you in and you're going to be Hornswoggle?
Yeah.
Was there any sort of like, okay, we're going to try to be sensitive because to go to a dwarf and say we want you to be a leprechaun is not the nicest thing you could ever do?
No, I don't think so. I think they kind of just thought, hey, if you don't want to do this, you won't do it.
Right.
Not using the term midget was huge. Vince would, that's just so crass.
Yeah. I mean, that's good.
I hate it because I love the word.
Well, yeah, but that's you. You can use the word.
But yet you're gonna have someone have sex with a dead person.
Well, that's a different deal. That we're not. I mean, that's a totally different thing altogether. That's.
Come on now.
That's
not crass.
No, I mean that's parody. That's that's something else. That's ridiculous. Yeah, no, that is. All right. That's neither here nor there.
Now I'm okay with not using the term midget. Now that you put it like that.
Yeah, that's parody. That's ridiculous. You wouldn't even compare those two.
No, but it was never. I don't think.
Well, you're also not like sensitive about it either, so
no,
you can kind of read that on a person, I think, usually, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
care at all because I'm the first one to bully people.
But that's what I was literally just gonna go into that you've done lots of interviews and freely admitted. People go, oh, I heard that there are people in the locker room that have said you're a bully, and you have told them that's because I am a bully.
I am. I'm a dickhead. Like, I'm a really nice person to fans.
Yeah.
I feel like but I'm to the guys. I'm hang right with them as being a bully, and sometimes more than they are. But it's just how I've always been. I've always been the one to make jokes and do this. And when Kali sucks in the ring, tell him he sucks.
Right, you're the guy to tell him that.
Yeah, I don't suck, man. You suck. You're not good, Kali. You do a chop and a big chop, and both of them you hurt people on. You suck. I know suck, man.
Now, but you know too, the part of this is like Kali could never attack you physically and not look like the bad guy. So you are kind of in this position where you can.
That's why I'm like, it's such a little shithead thing to do.
Because you know.
Yeah, if he punches me,
right,
he's an asshole.
Of course he is. That's a terrible thing for him to do. All you did was sit there and give him every reason in the world to punch you in the face.
I tried to give him advice to make his life better.
Oh, my mistake. My mistake.
Yes.
But so have you, when you get into wrestling, because I mean, if you're always like that, you know, growing up or whatever. But when you first get into WWE, I would imagine that there is a period of time where you got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I don't know when it clicked. Like, hey, I can be a dick, like with everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know when that happened, but probably pretty quick. I don't know. Fit was always one to, you know, to rile guys up and start a couple jokes here and there too. And I talk about it in the book. I don't know what caused the connection, between him and I.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like instant. It was an instant father-son connection that he and I had.
And it was just one of those things, like it just worked, because it could have easily just been a work relationship, right?
And it was at times.
Yeah.
We never rode together. We rode together twice. But it also was definitely more like this. I text him every Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. He's my wrestling dad. Him and Dreamer are my two wrestling dads, which I couldn't have two more different wrestling dads.
Yeah, that's true.
Finley and Tommy Dreamer, there's pretty opposite sides of the spectrum.
Now, speaking of wrestling dads, of course, when you find out that you're going to be Vince McMahon's son,
yeah,
that's one of those moments too. I mean, I would say that goes right along with DX. I mean, the highlights. I feel
I think Vince's son stands out to me more.
I do too. I mean, I think that's probably the number one thing. But it's like it's the Mount Rushmore of Hornswoggle's WWE career is probably
Vince's son,
DX,
WeeLC, Mae Young giving birth to me.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's it. You nailed it.
That's better than that.
But so you didn't know. I mean, there was no sort of, obviously the plan wasn't you all along, but even when the plan was made for it to be you didn't know this until...
Oh, no, at 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Right.
Bruce Pritchard came up to me and said, give me your cell phone. I said, no.
What, are you trying to rob me, Pritchard?
Yeah, I was like, well, this is very odd. He goes, can I please have your phone? Okay. He goes, you're Vince's son. Or no, you're the son. And I go, no, I'm not. And he goes, yes, it's being revealed that you're the son. I go, awesome. He goes, you need to tell, because it was him, and I forget who was, Nick Daw, I think, from one of the props guys. I think, and he goes, tell us where your gear bag is. The rehearsal for this Vince's son segment is wrapping up right now. As guys are leaving, you're going to sneak under.
So when they do the rehearsal, they're not going to reveal who it is because obviously they don't want anybody to stooge anything off.
It was like the last 4 people.
Right.
And then I went under the ring, and this was, man, like I said, 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon.
Right. And of course, the big reveal is actually coming in the overtime of Raw. So yes. You're there from 3 p.m. until 11 p.m. literally.
Yeah. It was, but then they literally got my bag out of the locker room and brought it to me, and I said, all I want is could I text my dad to come here and get him tickets? And all I said is, hey, please come. tickets are at will call. I would like bring Grandpa if you can. And him and my dad brought my grandpa that night, and it was awesome.
But that's so great that you were like, Dad, I need you to see my moment for when I get on TV and it is revealed that another man is my father.
Everyone at work the next day, he laughs about it because everyone at work the next day was giving him a hard time.
That you raised this boy to go on television.
Yeah. Where's the money coming in?
When you joined the Kiss My Ass Club, but I guess it was the Bite My Ass Club for you. Do you know? Does Vince do some cleaning beforehand, or are any odors?
Smelling his asshole, Sam.
Well, I understand, but you're very close to it. Yeah. No, get in there. The anus.
I'm supposed to go, hey, Vince, you want to clean that real quick? Make sure it's all tidy for me?
Is there a bidet in the office? I don't know these things. I've never been in the scenario.
I don't know.
Are there any aromas? Are there any smells?
Sam, I don't spend time in Vince's bathroom looking to see if he's bideting before the Kiss My Ass Club.
Well, you would know though, based on when you were as close to ground zero as anybody that I know.
Yeah, but I didn't look at the bidet situation or the asshole situation.
Okay, but I'm just asking any aromas.
I didn't smell shit.
Look at you. All right. Then I think he must have taken care of himself. He must respect you. That's very, very nice.
There's the overall of the podcast episode. I didn't smell shit.
Yeah. Let's get that to all the dirt sheet sites right now. But speaking of defecation, as we started, your nickname, as put in the book, it's in the book by Kofi Kingston, is Doo-Doo Dylan.
Yeah.
And Kofi tells the story of you pridefully, absolutely dismantling a rest stop bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam, I have a problem.
What's the problem?
Most people call it IBS.
Wow, that's rough.
I call it I shit a lot.
You do?
Yeah. I'm a 33-year-old man with a 3-year-old's bowels.
Yeah.
There's another quote for you, Sam.
I'm glad we're finally getting to the meat of this. We spent enough time covering everything else.
This is like 2020. Yeah, this is the heart of the matter right here.
Right. This is why you wanted to do this show. Like you knew this is the interview you're going to get out of Sam Roberts.
No, I don't know. I don't know. This has always been my life.
But are you the type of person? Because look, I do a radio show with Jim Norton, okay? I get reports on what he leaves in the bathroom, and sometimes he's happy about it, and sometimes he's disappointed in himself. But when I tell you that if he left a scene that Kofi Kingston describes that you left that scene in the bathroom, Jim Norton would be not only would he be thrilled, he would tell the story for years. So I want you to know, number one, I'm not judging you for being prideful in it, but that's the question. When you create...
It's a gas station bathroom,
right?
So yes. I think if it were something else, it would be... Like if it was in the locker room, I'd be really, really happy with it, and I'd find it really funny. But if it were at home, I'd be really embarrassed.
I really thought that the locker room thing was going to go a different direction just now. I did not think.
I would have loved it.
I forgot that you're a bully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more part of my bullying. If I can destroy a toilet and other people have to use it that I work with.
Right.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Yeah.
Good for you.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
we're all adults. Come on.
No, there isn't. If anything, it builds camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. How did you end up getting that old plug ski from Stephanie McMahon on Twitter for the book?
Oh, just that little one there.
Yeah, I saw. I had the book in the mail. I was like, I can't wait to read this book. I saw your friends were tweeting it out. I saw Dolph and Hawkins and Kofi, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm thinking it's nice to see in this world of wrestling where all these bitter old men talk about how there's no real friends in wrestling, that there is this group of real friends and good dudes, and then all of a sudden, I see at Stephanie McMahon going, hey, congratulations on the book at Hornswoggle, whatever, WWE. And I go, whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
I went, whoa, I never thought it would happen. Like I wasn't, I wouldn't have expected it. So, peek behind the curtain. I think I talk about it in the book. When I was released in 2016, I reached out to Stephanie and I said, hey, thank you so much for everything you and your whole family has did for me the last 10 years. I appreciate it more than you know, and let me live in my dream that I could never have thought I would have done. And most importantly, let a son be really, really proud of his father. Like, and that wasn't a throwing a fishing line out. That wasn't anything. It was my true feelings at the time. And she responded fairly quickly with a thank you for all you did, Dylan. And you and Landon are always part of this family. And that, man, like, she doesn't have to say that.
No.
Like,
And by the way, I mean, that's an easy text to ignore. You know, I mean, you can, if
ignore it and nothing. Like,
nothing.
So then, when the book was coming out, I reached out. I said, hey, I have this book coming out. If you'd like to check it out. And she then tweeted about it. It was pretty awesome.
That's really awesome, dude.
It was, it really makes you feel good that someone there and that in such a part of power.
Yeah.
Place of power that them tweeting about this book, it's pretty cool.
Do you see yourself going back there at any point? Obviously, since you left WWE, you've done a ton of stuff. You did some stuff with Impact, and since then, you've been working independents just constantly.
Yeah. Independents are going to be me, Colt Cabana, and the Warlord, I'm pretty sure, next year.
Dude, I'm sitting here going like, thank God Joey Ryan hasn't signed anywhere yet officially, because he's the last one. He's the only independent guy left.
Me, Cabana, and the Warlord. But no, it's, obviously.
Yeah.
It would be dumb to say no.
Right.
That's the place to be. You
Yeah.
know, like, that's my dream. My dream is to wrestle for WWE, and it always was. And to be able to do the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, and then to be a part of the Women's Royal Rumble this year, it's just amazing. And stuff like that. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, man. It's awesome, man. And I'm happy that you know, you're still popping up, and I think it's pretty obvious. You know, it's one of those things that, like, I'm sure that, and you know, we talked about it at the beginning of the interview, that, like, how much it stings when, you know, the ball drops and the release happens and all this. But I feel like now enough time has passed since you were in WWE that people can start to reflect on it and really kind of figure out how much of an impact you had over those years. And I mean, I know that, like, you could argue, like, you're not having Iron Man matches, but, like, it's an entertainment company, and there's a lot of Hornswoggle stuff that happened while you were there, and a pretty significant evolution of a character over 10 years.
I don't ever like to think that way. I don't ever like to think like, oh man, remember when I did this?
Right.
Oh wait, I remember when I did that. But when it gets brought up, and some of those, I remember all of it. It's just because it just still sticks out in my mind. It was so cool, and it was every time I got given something to do, it was awesome. I'm just opportunity on opportunity. I try to make the most out of each one of them, like we all do, and it was fun. Like, no matter what, at the end of the day, you had to realize I shouldn't be here, but somehow I am. And it's pretty awesome that I am.
Well, you know, it's tough to find people in wrestling that are honest. It's tough to find people in wrestling that are not bitter. And somehow we found somebody who's both honest and not bitter, and he's put it all into a book. So I would recommend, this is an excellent book for wrestling fans to get. Like, for me, I think, my favorite wrestling books ever, Mick Foley's book, obviously. Bret Hart's book, to me, is a masterpiece. Chris Jericho's first book is incredible. And this is on that list, man, because it's not, you're right. It's not bitter. I'm glad that you waited and didn't just get released and immediately write a book and have all your feelings in it.
It would have came off, not even if it would have been the same story. I think if I would have released it right away, it would have came off as I was trying to be bitter.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get past some feelings and then just let the stories be told, and that's what's going on.
With the book, I think the biggest thing that come out of it, of how we put it together, was it's not outline form. You can't, it's not Wikipedia of I was born and then I had surgery and then I got hired and then this. With the little short stories in between and breaking it up and stuff like that, I'm very, very happy with how that whole thing came together too, because it makes a flow. It really has a good flow to it, and I wish it was longer. Like I wish we didn't cut some of the stuff out, but we didn't want it to go on forever, and I'm very, very happy with it.
Well, it's awesome, man, and congratulations. Life is short, and so am I. Dylan Hornswoggle Postal. It's in bookstores. It's on Amazon. It's all over the place. Do you have copies when you go and do?
I actually just literally sold my last one this last weekend, but I have another. I have another shipment coming in, which blows my mind.
It's incredible.
I just tweeted about it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
One of the writers, Ian Douglas, saw it on Amazon that it was the #1 new release, and crazy to me that man. I'm a kid from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, that somehow wrote a book, and it's pretty awesome.
It's awesome, and the success of this book is going to completely make up for the fact that at one point The Rock may or may not have thought Dylan was a Make-A-Wish kid. It's going to make everything better.
Thank you for not bringing up Punk like every other interview does.
I mean, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Well, I'm looking at interviews and I'm like, how many times can people possibly? So are you still talking to Punk? Are you still
every time?
Anybody that wants to know,
I know it I know it's gonna happen. But it's the Rock thing is. I feel like that could have been the end of the book. It's such a crazy story. But again, you think back on it, he wasn't watching wrestling.
Right.
And he wasn't watching the Leprechaun on wrestling.
Right. Yeah, he was busy.
He's making billion-dollar movies. He doesn't need to watch wrestling.
Right.
And
these are big movies that he's actually in, not just listed as being in, such as Leprechaun.
I was in it, asshole. Son of a bitch. My name is on the poster. I had to do all the work. I pooped in the suit. It's son of a bitch. I knew I liked Hawkins and Ryder's podcast better.
Well, listen, man. It's always a pleasure. Everybody check out the book, and thanks for making the time.
I appreciate it, man.